down with the clubs. Then they were dragged away. That was the first time in my life I saw a confrontation between police and civilians. The first time in my whole life.
Working quickly, Hu Yaobang prevented the conservatives from jailing the students. He ordered the young people bussed back to campus. Enraged hardliners struck back.
It was rumored that there was a blacklist of intellectuals who would be punished. I was definitely one of them. I remember some of us were having dinner at Guiyang's one night.
CCTV had announced there would be important news at 7 o'clock, but they did not say what. So we watched TV during dinner and heard the news flash from the government. They announced that Hu Yaobang had been ousted.
The conservatives forced Hu Yaobang out, blaming him for weak leadership and for not crushing intellectual dissent.
When we heard the news, we felt that it was all over.
We were in shock and realized that we wouldn't be able to turn to him for protection anymore. We were doomed.
Then the hardliners went after intellectuals who had questioned the party.
I wanted to leave the party before they ordered me out. I did not want to belong to that kind of party. But I was angry. I felt it was unfair.
Fang Lijie had persuaded his students to return to campus. Still, he was expelled from the Communist Party, and he was fired from his job.
I had worked at the University of Science and Technology for 28 years. I was really close to the students and teachers. Of course, I was really sad.
I
didn't care about being expelled from the party or being accused of being anti-Marxist. In fact, I'd said publicly many times that Marxism was out of date.
Hundreds of students found that their futures were ruined.
At the time, they guaranteed they would not punish the students who joined in the activities. But when those students were assigned jobs, they used all kinds of excuses to send them to very remote places. We knew what was going on. They were all top students. The authorities assigned them that way to retaliate, because they couldn't stand those students.
The party's other leading reformer, Zhao Ziyang, took over from Hu Yaobang. While the student movement had been silenced, Zhao had to deal with a growing number of social problems.
China is about to enter into another baby boom period. In the 1960s and early 1970s, the population growth was very high in China. And the people who were born in those days are about to enter childbearing periods.
The size of China's population was overwhelming. Nearly 1.2 billion people, almost 1/4 of all mankind. If the population continued to grow unchecked, the party feared it would be impossible to maintain social stability, to govern and feed so many people. In 1979, the party had started the one-child policy. Women who already had one child were made to use contraceptives. If they became pregnant again, they were pressured to have abortions. But throughout rural China, the policies met resistance. In villages like this one in northwest Shanxi province, people traditionally wanted large families.
For thousands of years, people have wanted to have sons to carry on the family name. For instance, when a man grows old, he won't be able to support himself if he doesn't have a son. We have several cases like this in this village. Old people in their 70s or 80s become helpless without sons.
Chen Ku's mother enforced family planning in their village.
At first, the policy was not so strict. Later, they started to control even the second child. They used tractors to take women to the hospital to get their tubes tied. The local police did this. The villagers became really enraged and extremely uncooperative about family planning. Since they were furious with the policy, they vented their anger on the person who carried it out. They took their rage out on my family, on my mother.
Women fled their villages to give birth in secret elsewhere. Others paid huge fines for violating the policy.
I can't support the policy of family planning. Of course, people can't afford to have too many children. When you have 3 or 4 girls, your burden becomes too heavy. Some families in the village have to have 3 or 4 girls before they finally get a boy. If you have a girl, you can't just get rid of her.
The government was powerful enough to control the most personal aspects of people's lives. Despite resistance, family planning policies cut population growth by almost half. But the huge size of the population remained a problem. Away from the coastal regions, the rural economic reforms produced new dilemmas. Village factories could not employ the millions of peasants freed from collective farming.
When they proposed that I take 70% of my wages and leave, I said I would. Before they laid people off, 50 workers would inspect the same small amount of cloth. How could they pay so many people? So everyone was sent home, cut off like a knife.
We felt that the economy along the south coast was growing, but it had nothing to do with us. Those southerners had special economic zones, and they were open to the outside world, while we northerners were still sealed off in small towns. We had no contact with the outside world.
The party faced equally daunting problems in cities throughout China. Most people worked in vast state-run enterprises where they faced a subsistence life of numbing routine. In exchange, factories gave workers an iron rice bowl.